Ethan and Emma had been together for 7 years, but on their wedding day, she ditched her high heels and ran away from the altar for Ethan's brother. Ethan looked unfazed, ripping off his boutonniere and tossing it into the trash. "Welcome everyone to my divorce party," he announced. "Eat and drink your fill." Later, when Ethan married someone else, Emma knelt before everyone and begged him to take her back. Ethan smiled and said, "If it isn't my old friend, welcome to the wedding." After 3 months of planning a lavish wedding, Emma seemed so disinterested. As the officiant announced the exchange of rings, her eyes drifted, her mind clearly elsewhere. The officiant repeated, "The bride and groom will now exchange rings." This time, she reacted, but in her haste to look up, she dropped the ring. The clatter echoed in the sudden silence. Everyone seemed to be waiting for the show to begin. "Emma," Ethan whispered, urging her to pick up the ring. She stared at him, her eyes colder than he'd ever seen. "I'm sorry, Ethan. Let's postpone the wedding," she said. "Jacob called. He's been in an accident, and I'm worried about him." She said this without a hint of remorse, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. As if Jacob were her husband, the one she should rush to see after an accident. But Ethan was her fiancé, and this was their wedding day. Was she really going to run off for another man? How ridiculous and ironic. Ethan fought back a pang of heartache, his voice low and angry for the first time. "Emma, what am I to you?" he asked. "Today is our wedding day." The officiant stood awkwardly, unsure of what to do. Emma's parents rushed forward from the crowd. "Emma, stop this nonsense." Ignoring them, she kicked off her heels and said, "Ethan, how can you be so cold-hearted? Your brother's in trouble, and you're talking about this? Is a wedding more important than a life?" Her words were like invisible punches, landing squarely on Ethan's chest. He took a few steps back, looking at her with disappointment. "What a coincidence. He gets into an accident on our wedding day," he said. "And why did he only call you? In what capacity are you going to see him? As his brother's wife? Or his lover?" Jacob had pulled stunts like this before, and Ethan had always let them slide. But on his wedding day, Jacob was at it again. This time, Ethan couldn't let it go. Emma's face turned ugly, perhaps not expecting Ethan to speak so harshly. She clenched her fists, glaring at him. "I don't want to talk to a cold-blooded person like you," she said. With that, she tossed her shoes aside and ripped the long train of her wedding dress. Then, she ran off without looking back, just like a runaway bride in a movie, off to find her true love. And now, it was happening to Ethan. This was what it felt like to be abandoned by the one you loved. It felt like his soul had been ripped out, leaving him helpless and suffocated. He could barely stand. They say that if you make it past the 7-year itch, you'll be together forever. Ethan and Emma had made it through thick and thin, weathering 7 years of storms together. But in the end, they couldn't beat a bolt from the blue. And that bolt was his own half-brother. The bride's escape caused a commotion, with murmurs spreading through the crowd. Emma's parents and Ethan's father tried to approach him, but he waved them away. He composed himself, ripped off his groom's boutonniere, and threw it in the trash. Then he grabbed the microphone from the officiant and addressed the gossiping crowd. "Welcome, everyone, to my divorce party," he announced. "Eat and drink your fill." His words stunned the guests. Emma's parents looked anxious, urging him not to be rash. They'd call Emma and make her come back. "Uncle, Annie, don't bother," Ethan said. "She won't come back." After all, this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Ethan and Emma had been together for 7 years, living together for 3. And she had been away with Jacob for those 3 years. During that time, Jacob would often call her late at night. Sometimes he'd be drunk, claiming he'd dialed the wrong number. Other times he'd be sick, saying he had no one to take care of him. All sorts of clumsy excuses, but Emma always believed him. Ethan was furious, telling Emma she needed to draw a line. Jacob wasn't without people to care for him. But she said, "Jacob's new in town. He doesn't have many friends. He was my senior in college. Don't overthink it." Overthinking it, Ethan wanted to tell himself he was overthinking it. But Jacob kept pushing Ethan's buttons. Every time Emma went over, Jacob would post on social media, making sure to include Emma in the background. Once, he posted a picture of Emma making a medicine. The caption read, "Medicine from my junior is never bitter." Another time, he posted a picture of Emma blow-drying her hair. She was wearing a shirt, smiling at the mirror. The caption, My junior looks so pretty blow-drying her hair. It was obvious these posts were meant for Ethan to see. Jacob was telling Ethan that he and Emma were the real couple, that they were happy together. And Ethan's existence was a joke. Ethan had brought up breaking up, and he and Emma had fought about this many times. But she said, "You're the only one in my heart. I just see Jacob as a friend, and he's your brother. You two used to be close, right?" Yes, Ethan and Jacob used to be close. But that was in the past. Jacob was an illegitimate child, brought into the family by Ethan's father 3 years ago, and given the family name. Back then, Jacob's mother had just passed away, just like Ethan's. So Ethan felt sympathy for him and even helped him in his career. But when Ethan realized Jacob had feelings for Emma, he cut him off completely. And then Ethan endured. He thought that once they were married, it would create distance between Emma and Jacob. But he was wrong. So very wrong. The grass is always greener on the other side. Emma's parents didn't say much more. They knew their daughter's personality better than anyone. They knew what Emma had done. They'd scolded her, pleaded with her, but Emma never listened. She even fought with Ethan, saying he was trying to drive a wedge between her and her parents. She was very good at shifting the blame for her mistakes onto Ethan. She never reflected on herself. Ethan's father was busy apologizing to the many clients he'd invited to the wedding. The divorce party, though sudden and absurd, went on smoothly. Ethan finally had a moment to check his phone. The first post he saw was from Jacob. It was a picture taken in Jacob's home, with Emma kneeling in front of him, tending to a small scratch on his leg. The caption, "When you're at your weakest, you learn who truly cares." So this was the car accident Emma had mentioned. What a joke. Instead of going to the hospital, he went home. Ethan's grip tightened on his phone, his knuckles white. He wanted to rush over and ask Emma if she'd forgotten their 7 years together. The promises they made to be together forever, to never abandon each other, to love only each other. What was he to her? Furious, Ethan sped off to what was supposed to be his and Emma's new home. He'd bought the house for their marriage. The master bedroom was filled with colorful balloons. Reggie characters adorned the windows and closets. Just yesterday, Emma was helping him decorate, saying she was excited to marry him. Women were indeed fickle. But thinking about it now, her heart was probably never truly his. Ethan wasn't afraid of starting over, but he'd always given Emma another chance. So he'd forgiven her again and again. But now, he saw no need to give her another chance, nor could he forgive her. He finally understood that love could expire. Emma had taught him a valuable lesson today. Ethan angrily tore down all the decorations, throwing the flowers and balloons into the trash. He even changed the lock combination. This house would no longer have anything to do with Emma. He and Emma were over. Thankfully, she'd said she wanted to get the marriage certificate after the wedding. Now that they hadn't gotten it, it saved Ethan a lot of trouble. Then Ethan went to see Emma's parents and proposed ending the engagement. Emma's mother cried, pleading, "Ethan, give Emma another chance. She loves you." She was just confused. Love. Ethan had never felt it all these years. She'd probably given it all to Jacob. Ethan didn't blame her parents, but he and Emma simply couldn't continue. Seeing his resolve, Emma's parents didn't press further and agreed. He didn't ask for the betrothal gifts back. He told them, "It was Emma's fault, not yours. Keep the gifts. You've treated me like a son all these years. Consider it my filial duty." The next day, Ethan went to see his father and told him he was returning to the company. Before Jacob arrived, Ethan had been managing the family business. After Jacob came, Emma said, "Let Jacob help you manage the company, so you can spend more time with me." Ethan, trusting her completely, hadn't thought much of it. Now he realized she was just creating opportunities for Jacob to undermine him. Emma was so cruel. Ethan had given her his heart, and she'd stomped on it. His father agreed and even drafted a share transfer agreement, giving Ethan all his shares. He put a hand on Ethan's shoulder, his voice heavy. "Your brothers, I can't say much," he said. "Just leave Jacob a way out." His father's meaning was clear. He also thought Jacob had gone too far, but he couldn't intervene, leaving it to Ethan to handle. Ethan nodded, taking the share transfer agreement, a plan forming in his mind. The next morning, Ethan went to the company. A young woman in a professional suit was waiting for him at the entrance. She had her hair in a bun and a sweet smile on her face. Her name was Sarah, and she was Ethan's secretary. She'd been with him for many years. When Ethan left the company because of Emma, Sarah stayed, waiting for his return. Seeing Ethan, she opened the car door for him. "Mr. Shaw, welcome back," she said. It had been a long time since Ethan had been in this building. What belonged to him, he would take it all back today. In the office, Jacob was holding a meeting with the employees. Ethan's sudden appearance surprised everyone. Jacob was especially shocked, quickly standing up and walking over. He forced a smile, trying to play the good brother in front of everyone. "Ethan, what brings you here?" he asked. Ethan chuckled. "What, I can't come to my own company?" His words silenced the room, no one daring to breathe too loudly. Jacob's smile froze. "Of course not." Ethan ignored him, walking past him to sit in the chairman's seat. Jacob stood awkwardly, not knowing whether to sit or stand. Someone tactfully offered him the seat next to Ethan. Ethan took the share transfer agreement from his briefcase and handed it to Sarah. Sarah read it aloud. "Mr. Henry Shaw hereby transfers 60% of his shares to Mr. Ethan Shaw," she announced, "and the position of CEO will be returned to Mr. Ethan Shaw, who will have full authority." Jacob couldn't sit still after hearing this, his face red with anger. "Ethan, what is the meaning of this?" he demanded. Ethan slammed his hand on the table, showing no mercy. "It means exactly what you heard," he said. "I'll let you manage the company out of kindness, but now I'm taking it back. It's all in black and white, Manager Hayes. Any questions?" Before this, Jacob was just a general manager. Because Ethan wasn't around, he had been exercising the CEO's authority. Jacob clenched his fists, glaring at Ethan with unconcealed resentment. But he had nothing to say, so he got up and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Was he angry? Ethan was merely taking back what was rightfully his. Ethan returned to his old office, and that's when Emma showed up. She looked furious, like she wanted to eat him alive. Ethan had expected her to come, knowing Jacob would tell her everything. The first thing Jacob did after what happened was probably to complain to her. She pushed open the office door, and he saw she was wearing Jacob's white shirt. It was oversized and ill-fitting. Had something happened between her and Jacob last night? The thought made Ethan's breath catch in his throat. He snapped out of his daze as Emma's angry voice filled the room. "Ethan, just because I left early yesterday, you have to take it out on Jacob?" she demanded. "Give him back the company." "Give it back to him? How ridiculous. What did the company have to do with Jacob?" "The company was built by Ethan's mother and father. Where was Jacob back then? Probably still in diapers." Ethan looked at her calmly. "We're broken up," he said. "I'll manage my company as I see fit. You don't need to worry about it." Her face turned even uglier. "I never agreed to break up," she said. "Ethan, try to understand me. Yesterday was an emergency." Ethan let out a laugh, pointing at her clothes. "An emergency?" he asked. "Emma, tell me, who wears their boyfriend's brother's clothes?" Her voice dropped, and she avoided his gaze. I just didn't have any clothes, so Jacob lent me his," she stammered. "But I never did anything to betray you." Her reaction confirmed everything. The heart that once beat for her was now completely dead. All he felt was disgust. "You don't need to explain anything to me. We're over," he said. Tears welled in her eyes as she walked over and hugged him. "Ethan, don't be like this," she pleaded. "Have you forgotten all the promises we made? We've been together for 7 years. Promises? 7 years? So she did remember. Ethan thought she'd forgotten. He pushed her away, unable to control his emotions any longer, and roared. "Emma, ask yourself, who forgot?" he shouted. "How close you've been with Jacob all these years. How much you care for him. You know it's not just a senior-junior relationship." Looking back on their 7 years together, Ethan felt like Emma's dog. He did everything she said, agreed to all her outrageous demands. For her 25th birthday, to make her smile, Ethan pulled strings and spent a fortune on a limited edition sports car for her. He couldn't even bear to drive it himself. But what did she do? She gave it to Jacob. Her explanation was, "I just lent it to Jacob. Don't be so stingy." Lent? She lent it for 2 years and never got it back. The sincerity he offered her was so cheap in her eyes, casually given away to someone else. And he was the fool, completely taken in by her words. But once a person wakes up and sees through the lies, they can't go back to being a fool. Emma's face was pale. "I really didn't. She started. "Please leave. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." Ethan interrupted. She bit her lip, her eyes filled with anger. "Ethan, you'll regret this," she spat. Then she stormed off, But Ethan wanted to tell her. This time he wouldn't regret it. He wouldn't be like before, begging for her forgiveness after a fight. She was nothing to him now. Just then, Sarah came in to report on work. She told him that during his absence, Jacob had caused the company significant losses and had embezzled funds for personal use. She showed him screenshots of the embezzlement transactions and the company's loss reports for the past year. Ethan was surprised and asked her how she got this information. She just smiled. After you left, I didn't have much status, so I was doing odd jobs, she explained. I helped the finance department a lot and discovered this. I thought I'd give it to you when you came back. Hearing this, Ethan felt a pang of guilt. Sarah had always been his right hand, efficient and reliable, and he just left without considering how she might be treated. It seemed she hadn't had an easy time while he was gone. Thank you for your hard work, Ethan said, not one for flowery words. Looking at the evidence she'd provided, a plan formed in Ethan's mind. He'd originally intended to let Jacob stay on as a manager. But now, there was no need for him to stay. That evening, Ethan showed the evidence to his father. His father was so angry, he nearly crushed the teacup in his hand. That bastard, he exclaimed. If it weren't for my guilt over his mother, I never would have brought him here. He's not my son at all? Ethan was stunned. What do you mean? He asked. His father explained that while Jacob's mother was indeed his mistress, Jacob was her child with another man. 3 years ago, Jacob's mother, diagnosed with cancer and worried about Jacob's future, had sought him out, asking him to take Jacob in. The Shaw family was wealthy, and one more person wouldn't make a difference. So, he agreed. Fearing Ethan's disapproval, he and Jacob had agreed to keep it a secret from him. Ethan's father's eyes were filled with regret. It's all my fault, he said. But don't worry, I'll contact him tonight, give him some money, and tell him to leave the Shaw family. No wonder Jacob had treated the company this way. He wasn't a Shaw at all. Ethan didn't blame his father, just told him to handle everything. Regret was useless now. They just had to cut their losses. But in a way, Ethan should thank his father. If he hadn't brought Jacob into the family, Ethan would never have known what kind of person Emma truly was. Jacob was bought off by Ethan's father and had no right to remain at the company. Emma had been calling and messaging Ethan constantly. He didn't answer any of her calls, and he only glanced at her messages, which were all pleas on Jacob's behalf and accusations against Ethan. She still hadn't realized her mistakes, still thought it was all Ethan's fault. That was just like her, unconditionally trusting Jacob and pushing Ethan away. Ethan should have realized it sooner. He blocked all her contact information. Then he went on a business trip with Sarah, making it impossible for Emma to find him. But Ethan didn't expect someone to tamper with his car, causing the brakes to fail. Sarah was frantic, repeatedly stepping on the brakes, but there was no response. Just as the car was about to crash into a tree, Sarah unbuckled her seatbelt and threw herself on top of Ethan. She shielded him from the impact. Ethan was unharmed, but she was injured. Sarah, wake up, Ethan cried. Her face was pale, but she managed to raise her hand and touch his face. You're okay, she whispered. Then her hand fell to her side. Ethan panicked, quickly dialing for an ambulance. He breathed a sigh of relief when Sarah was taken to the hospital. He didn't expect her to instinctively try to save him in such a critical moment, and she had helped him gather evidence of Jacob's wrongdoings. Ethan couldn't understand why she was so good to him. Sarah had a broken rib and was still unconscious after surgery. Ethan only suffered minor injuries. He finally had time to deal with the car accident. The police contacted him, saying someone had tampered with the brake pads and asked if he had any enemies. The only enemy Ethan could think of was Jacob. After all, Ethan had forced him out of the company. But Ethan didn't expect Jacob to try to kill him. The police said they would continue the investigation and told Ethan to wait for updates. Ethan was still shaken by the incident. If it weren't for Sarah, he might be the one lying in the hospital bed. Just then, Sarah woke up. Ethan rushed to her side, asking if she was in pain. She shook her head. I'm fine. I'm just glad you weren't hurt, she said. Even now, she was still concerned about him. It was impossible not to be moved. Why did you save me? Ethan asked. Her eyes darted away for a moment. It was just instinct, she replied. Ethan noticed a faint blush on her cheeks. He wasn't stupid. He could see her feelings for him. After the accident, he started to feel something different for her too. But now wasn't the time. Regardless of the reason, thank you for saving me, he said. I'll find the best doctors for you. Just focus on recovering. His words seemed to make her a little disappointed, but she didn't say anything. She changed the subject, asking why the brakes suddenly failed and if someone was trying to harm him. Don't worry, I'll get to the bottom of this, Ethan assured her. If someone tried to kill me, I'll make sure they pay the price. The next day, Emma showed up at the hospital. Ethan was feeding Sarah some porridge at the time. Emma pointed at them angrily. Ethan, who is she? She demanded. Ethan calmly put down the porridge, told Sarah he'd be back, and led Emma to the stairwell before letting go of her arm. She was extremely agitated. Ethan, who is that woman? Tell me, she demanded. Ethan used to find her tears heartbreaking, but now he felt nothing but annoyance. He didn't want to waste time arguing. He just wanted to get this over with. So he didn't answer her question, instead asking why she was here. She wouldn't have come without a reason. Sure enough, her crying stopped, and her anger dissipated. Ethan, Jacob's been taken to the police station. Can you help him? She asked. Of course, that's why she was here. But Ethan wouldn't help Jacob, not after what he'd done. Ethan suppressed his anger. Do you know why he's in the police station? He asked. She was taken aback. Did you put him there? She asked. Ethan clenched his fist. Yes, I did. He deserves it. He showed her the surveillance footage the police had sent him. It was from a repair shop, showing Jacob talking to the mechanic about tampering with Ethan's car. Ethan's car had been parked in the company's underground parking lot, and Jacob had asked the mechanic to tamper with the brake pads. Jacob was smart enough to bribe the security guard to delete the surveillance footage. But he didn't know that even deleted footage was stored on the cloud, and the repair shop owner had kept a copy. The police had uncovered all this the night of the accident and informed Ethan. They also told him that Jacob had been taken into custody. He would be sentenced once his crimes were confirmed. Look closely at what he did, Ethan said. He tried to kill me. If my secretary hadn't shielded me from the impact, I'd be the one lying in the hospital bed. And you, Emma, are still begging for a murderer. Emma looked at him in disbelief, as if she couldn't believe the good Jacob would do such a thing. She grabbed Ethan's hand, her voice turning meek. I'm sorry. I didn't know he was like this, she said. Ethan, I was wrong. Can we get back together? Was he trash to her? Something to be thrown away and picked up at will. Ethan shook off her hand, looking at her coldly. It's too late, he said. What's the point of saying all this now? Don't you love your Jacob the most? She shook her head frantically. No, I've always loved you, she said. I know you're still mad about me running away from the wedding. I'll make it up to you. Her words only disgusted him. Love me, he asked. Is loving me giving the car I bought to Jacob? Or running away on our wedding day for him? Or cooking for him, taking care of him, warming his bed? Emma, tell me, what is your love? Ethan could no longer contain his anger, pouring out all the pain he'd bottled up. She always said she loved him, but her actions showed otherwise, being a May with another man. And she still insisted they were just friends. He didn't understand how her love could be so disgusting and cheap. Even after hearing all this, she still didn't see her mistakes, vehemently defending herself. I lent Jacob the car because he didn't have one, she said. I left on our wedding day because he was injured. I took care of him because he didn't know anyone else. What's wrong with that? It was the same old excuses, the same justification she always used. She was beyond saving. Ethan turned away, not wanting to look at her anymore. We're over. If you keep harassing me, I'll call the police, he said. She tried to hug him again, but he dodged, and she fell to the floor, looking up at him with tear-filled eyes. Ethan, please don't do this. I can't live without you, she cried. Ethan didn't want to hear another word from her. She hadn't hesitated to abandon him at the wedding. She'd never considered his feelings when Jacob called, always rushing to his side. Even if he begged on his knees, Ethan wouldn't take her back. He opened the stairwell door and walked away without looking back. Ethan's 7 years with Emma were officially over. Everyone used to say that Ethan and Emma would be together forever. Ethan used to think so too, imagining their life after marriage, having a child, but she had destroyed it all with her own hands. Later, Jacob confessed to his crimes. The police told Ethan that Jacob had indeed acted out of resentment over the company. He had impulsively decided to tamper with Ethan's car. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for attempted murder. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. It was all his own doing. He should have known there would be consequences for trying to harm Ethan. The others involved were also punished by the law. Sarah was discharged from the hospital 2 months later. That day, She surprised Ethan with a ring and a confession. It was the first time she didn't call him Mr. Shaw, but Ethan. She looked at him earnestly, her eyes filled with a gentle, shimmering light. "Ethan, will you be my boyfriend?" she asked. Ethan was shocked, but mostly moved. He didn't expect a woman to propose to him like this. He had actually fallen for her long ago, but he was afraid to express his feelings. His past failed relationship had left him scared, afraid of repeating the same mistakes. She seemed to read his mind. She continued, "Do you know, I've been in love with you for many, many years." Ethan was stunned, looking at her in disbelief. "What do you mean?" he asked. She smiled and told him she'd loved him since high school. She was a year younger, his junior. Ethan was a top student, always giving speeches at the Monday assembly. That's when she started to like him. But she knew the gap between them, so she studied hard, wanting to become better and confess to him. She finally got into the same prestigious university as him, only to find out he had a girlfriend. She was heartbroken, but chose to silently support him. She eventually became his secretary after graduation, using her skills to get close to him. Those were her happiest days because she could see him every day. But when Ethan suddenly left the company, she chose to stay and wait for his return. She kept up with his life after work. Seeing him happy made her happy too. Learning all this, Ethan felt a warmth in his eyes. From high school until now, how many years had it been? She had always chosen to support him, never considering finding another boyfriend. Ethan never imagined someone could love him silently for so long. No wonder she had kept evidence of Jacob's wrongdoings. No wonder she had instinctively saved him during the accident. Even though she knew her love might never be reciprocated, she never gave up. Ethan wasn't sure he could have done the same. Tears welled up in his eyes. He took the ring from her hand and knelt on one knee. She had done so much for him. It was his turn to take the initiative. He looked at her, his eyes filled with tenderness. "Sarah, will you marry me?" he asked. Perhaps she didn't expect him to propose directly. Her eyes turned red, tears of joy streaming down her face as she nodded vigorously. She said she never thought they would be together. She had also believed Ethan and Emma would be together forever. She had planned to support him silently for the rest of her life. But when she heard about what happened at the wedding, she was secretly happy. It meant she finally had a chance to express her love. But she knew Ethan needed time to heal from his past relationship, so she waited. Ethan hugged her tightly, stroking her hair. "Fate will not keep true lovers apart," he said. After Sarah fully recovered, Ethan and Sarah took wedding photos and set a wedding date. His father was overjoyed, saying Ethan had finally found the right person. Yes, finally. Ethan was also grateful that fate had allowed him to see Emma's true colors and not miss out on Sarah. Otherwise, he would never have known that someone had been silently sacrificing for him all this time. During the wedding preparations, Emma often harassed Ethan. He heard from her parents that she wasn't doing well. She deeply regretted her past mistakes. She often muttered, 7 years of love, gone just like that. But what was the point of saying all that now? 7 years wasn't the benchmark for a lasting relationship. Flowers wither, birds die, nothing lasts forever. Ethan and Sarah's wedding day was bright and sunny. It was as if even the heavens were blessing them. Sarah was happy, and so was Ethan. She said, "Ethan, I can finally be with you properly, as your wife." Ethan kissed her forehead. "I will cherish you always, never leaving your side." They walked into the hall of happiness together. She looked at him with anticipation throughout, her happiness genuine. But just as they were about to exchange rings, Emma burst in wearing a wedding dress. Ethan recognized the dress immediately. It was the one he had chosen for their wedding. He didn't know where she found an identical one, but her hair was messy and her cheeks were sunken. Everyone stared at her, wondering who this intruder was. Sarah squeezed Ethan's hand, and he whispered to her not to worry. With a thud, Emma knelt on the floor, her eyes red as she looked at Ethan. "Ethan, look, I'm wearing the wedding dress you chose for me," she cried. "Marry me again, please?" Did she think disrupting his wedding would change anything? It only made him dislike her more. Everything was in the past. There were no do-overs in life. She had chosen Jacob. Now she wanted Ethan back? Not a chance. Ethan grabbed the microphone from the officiant, smiling at her. "If it isn't my old friend, welcome to the wedding," he said. "Ushers, please find this lady a seat." The ushers understood immediately and rushed to her side. She broke down, crying and struggling. "No, Ethan, please marry me," she sobbed, but she was no match for the ushers and was quickly escorted out of the hotel. Ethan sighed as he watched her leave. Why make a scene now when she hadn't cherished their relationship before? Belated affection was worthless. His once unwavering love for her was long gone. This little interlude didn't affect Ethan and Sarah's wedding. The music played again. They exchanged rings, hugged, and kissed. With everyone as their witness, they were finally together. Ethan bought a new house for him and Sarah. They lived happily, going to work and cooking dinner together. Everyone at the company knew she was now Mrs. Shaw, and their attitudes towards her did a 180. Sarah told Ethan how these people used to look down on her and bully her. Ethan replaced all of them with new employees, and the company thrived. Ethan hadn't seen Emma since the wedding. He heard she was devastated by his marriage to Sarah and had become mentally unstable. Her parents had hired someone to watch over her, fearing she might do something foolish. Ethan didn't feel sorry for her. She had brought it all upon herself. Now, he just wanted to be happy with Sarah. Later, Sarah became pregnant. They were both overjoyed. Ethan lifted her up and spun her around. She laughed. "Ethan, be careful. Don't hurt the baby." He put her down, his warm kiss landing on her forehead. "Thank you, Sarah," he said. "Thank you for always being by my side, never leaving." She hugged him tightly. "I'm your wife. No need to thank me," she said. Ethan stopped letting her go to work, asking her to rest at home. She stayed home, cooking and waiting for him to come back from work. Their life was simple, happy, and everything was moving in the right direction.